Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. So here it is, the Astro Gen 4 or 2019 A40 TR plus Mixamp Pro combo review. So this review has been delayed a couple of weeks, more than I would have liked it to be, and that is due to a couple of technical issues that I've had with this system. One being an issue with the Mixamp and the other being with the finish on the headset itself. Both of those things I'll talk about a little bit more in detail. I am going through the warranty process with Astro, and they're actually going to be replacing both of these things for their separate issues. Like I said, I'll dive more into what those issues are as we go. So let's start with the design of the A40 headset itself. It's fairly lightweight, and it is mostly made of plastic. Most of the plastic surfaces are more of a matte finish, but there are some glossier places in there as well. And then there's a few places where there's metal, such as on the adjustment bars here for the size. Now the plastic surfaces, they do show fingerprint oil quite a bit, and the finish on the headset is already scratching in several places along the top. Scratching, flaking, peeling, whatever you want to call it. And try to get you a shot here of that. There's a little bit right there, and I'll try to give you a better picture as well on an overlay. But I've only had this headset for a little over a month now that I've been using it, and pretty much all across the headband, the plastic is flaking off. So that's one of the issues that I've brought up with Astro, and they're going to warranty out the headset itself for the finish issue. Let's look at the other aspects of the durability of the headset. The plastic feels to be of reasonable quality. It's fairly flexible. I'm not too worried about it breaking. The metal parts look sturdy enough. It doesn't look to be the highest quality of metal out there, but I'm not too worried about it. It has reasonable thickness to it. Now, when we look at the microphone, we have a rotating microphone, and it has a lot of flexibility and is detachable. Now, the microphone is not flipped to mute. The mute is done through the inline mute switch here, which I'm not personally a fan of. I would prefer to have the mute switch be on the headset, or even more preferably to me on the Mixamp, because the Mixamp can be used with other headsets, but that's a minor gripe. So obviously the microphone is detachable, and we can swap the sides that it's on. The ear plates are magnetic and just pop right off, and you can just switch it around and put the microphone on the other side if you choose. So this headset is, by default, we'll say a semi-open back design. Try to show that to you a little bit. So if you see, there's a little bit of a gap underneath the speaker plate and the outside of the ear cup, which opens it up a little bit. And you can spend money on Astro's mod kits, which they really want you to do, and you can turn this into a closed back design if you so choose. And you can always just pop the speaker plates off completely and open it up even more. And if you are the type of person that really likes to customize your kit, Astro is good for that. You can buy all kinds of speaker plate kits or the mod kits that'll change out the color of your top band, and also change out your ear cushions and your microphones and things of that nature. As far as size adjustment goes, you adjust the size by just sliding the ear cups up and down on the poles here. And there's a fair amount of resistance. I haven't really noticed it sliding unintentionally. And then Astro includes these little tick marks on the posts themselves for quick reference, so that's kind of nice. As far as the cushioning is concerned from a design perspective, I'm not a huge fan. I mentioned this in the unboxing video for this headset. I'm not a huge fan of this cloth material. There's just other nicer materials out there. So these very basic material cushions are just, whatever. They're nothing special. And again, when we're in this price point, I'd expect something a little more premium. Both the ear cups are quickly removable. They're magnetic, so you can swap these out with other ones that you might get in a mod kit. And same with the top cushion. This pops out of the frame, and you can swap it out with something that would come in a mod kit as well. The headset cable itself is detachable, so if this ever breaks, you can get a replacement. Alright, so jumping over to the Mixamp, the first major change from the Gen 3 to the Gen 4 is they've changed the layout from the vertical row of buttons on the Gen 3 to this horizontal arrangement on the Gen 4. So right off the bat, I do like the physical design of the Mixamp. Now the finish also scratches fairly easily. I don't know if you can see those scratches right up there. So it scratches pretty easily, just like the headset itself. So I do like the design of the Mixamp itself. We have a large volume wheel and a game chat balance, which has a little notch that it falls into at the halfway point for quick reference. I have a button that switches between the built-in Dolby surround sound, which isn't to be confused with Dolby Atmos. But if we push the button, it'll switch to its pass-through mode, which will allow either straight stereo or you can use it with Dolby Atmos or Windows Sonic. So they designed it from the ground up to easily be switched between those items. And this button here switches between 4 sound EQ profiles. It comes with 4 built in, but you can get into the software and change those around and save them to whatever you want them to be and assign them to whichever profile you want. And then there's little LED lights to tell you which profile you're on. Another nice little design touch on the Mixamp is, if you notice right now, the LEDs on the volume wheel are red because it's muted, and if you unmute, they turn white to let you know where you're at. Alright, looking at the back, on either side we have daisy chain ports, and this system comes with 1 daisy chain cable. And what that's for is if you're on a competitive team and you're in a tournament environment and you and your teammates all have Mixamps, you can use those cables and chain your Mixamps together to reduce latency. Then we have an optical port, which is necessary to get game sound from the Xbox. This system still uses a micro USB for power. I say this a lot, but it's 2019, folks, so it's time for USB-C. Right next to that is a little switch to switch between PC and Xbox modes. And then on the front of the Mixamp are little LED lights to let you know which setting you're on. Next to that switch, we have an auxiliary and a stream port for whatever mixing purposes you may want to do, and then the other daisy chain port. The back of the Mixamp is completely covered in rubber, but it's not a very tacky rubber, so it will still slide on most smooth surfaces if it gets tugged on. So the issue that I've had with my Mixamp that's leading it to be warranted is when it's plugged into my Xbox on the Xbox setting. When I first turn on my Xbox, it will not recognize the microphone from the Mixamp. And so I either have to power cycle the Mixamp by unplugging and replugging the USB or switching it from Xbox mode to PC mode and back. And this happens every single time I turn on the Xbox. So Astro is warranting out the Mixamp for that issue. Now in the comfort department, this headset's kind of in the middle of the road for me. This top headband here is not overly thick. This pad is not very thick, it's not very dense, so it just crushes pretty much right away, and there's just not a lot of padding between the top of my head and the bottom of the plastic of the headband. So as I wear this for longer sessions, I do really start to feel the top of the headset on my head, and it gets very uncomfortable after long periods of time. Now the ear cushions are a little bit more comfortable. They're thicker, they're deep enough that the outside of my ear doesn't touch the housing on the inside of the ear cup. They're not overly large with the openings though, so depending on your ear size or shape, that may be a nuisance to you. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm not a huge fan of the cloth material. It's just not as nice as what other people have out there. And I think it's because Astro wants to sell us mod kits, because for 60 bucks or whatever it is, you can get a mod kit that has a nice leather encased ear cushions, a thicker top pad that's leather also, and then it comes with a different microphone and ear tags. Okay, now let's talk about the sound performance, because when we talk about a $250 wired headset, audio quality is really where I'm hoping that extra money will benefit me. And this headset does sound very good. The signature out of the box has decent clarity and balance. The bass is present and thumpy, and it can be a little bit overemphasized, but it doesn't really get too muddy in the mids, but the bass is definitely there. The mids are well represented, and the treble is decent, but sometimes it lacks just a little bit of presence, so you lose sometimes occasionally a little bit on that high end. I don't notice this very much, and it's not a huge deal for me, and you can EQ that around to try to make up for that if you notice it in certain content. As far as the included presets go, there's 4 of them that I mainly jump between Astro, which is the default preset, and Balanced. Astro is a little bit more bass heavy, so you get a lot of boom with explosions in games, so it can be a lot of fun to listen to. Whereas the balance really puts a little more emphasis on the mids and highs, so it brings out some of those fine details a little bit better. So it kind of depends on what I'm listening to as far as the default presets are concerned. One area where this system does very well is max volume. It can get very loud. I usually keep my volume around the 50% mark, which is pretty decent. It's much louder than both Turtle Beach's Super Amp and SteelSeries' Game DAC. Now, directional audio with this headset system is very good. You have a good number of options for surround sound. It comes with its own Dolby surround sound, which shouldn't be confused with Atmos, but it does work with Atmos, and it actually comes with a 2-year Atmos code, and I'll be giving away the one that came with this headset, and I'll talk about the details of that at the end of this video. So in addition to its own Dolby surround sound, this headset also does work with Dolby Atmos, as I said, and Windows Sonic, or you can do just straight stereo. But really with all three of them, I've thoroughly enjoyed them as far as directionality is concerned. No issues with distance or direction that other sounds are coming from. One thing I do really want to hit on is that I actually really like the Dolby surround sound that Astro has on this generation of Mixamp. And that really surprised me because on the Gen 3 of this system, I hated the Dolby surround sound. It had that horrible, tinny, metallic reverb sound, and it had a nice wide sounding soundstage, but that metallic reverb just annoyed me to no end. I couldn't stand it. And on this system, that reverb sound is only present. I've noticed it a couple of times, like when scrolling through menus, but it's not nearly as noticeable as it was before, and I don't notice it at all in games. And so now I have that nice wide soundstage that the Gen 3 had without the horrible reverb. And another nice thing about this particular implementation of Dolby is a lot of surround sound headsets, when they have that type of surround sound as opposed to the 3D solutions like with Atmos and Sonic, is that it opens it up and it sounds nice and wide, but then sounds that should be close to you sound really far away. And that's not so with this system. Gunfire and explosions that are close to me sound like they're right in front of me. They have a lot of presence and a nice amount of boom, but those further away sounds sound even further away than they do with Sonic and Atmos. So I really like the implementation that they got this time around. Good job there, Astro. Now, with the Dolby surround sound on this system, it does change the sound signature a bit, and I generally really like it. I think it's a lot of fun to play with. I don't have any complaints about the quality of the sound that I'm getting, but some audio purists out there may not appreciate that it alters the sound signature a little bit. So that setting won't be for everyone, but hey, you have the choice, and that's one thing I really like about this system, is that they gave you choice. Now let's talk about the microphone a little bit more in depth. Again, it can be rotated up and down, but it is not flip to mute, which I'd prefer. It has a lot of flexibility, a lot of range and motion here, but you can't adjust the length, so you can't shorten it up if you're someone that prefers to have your microphone sit more off to the side of your mouth. It's going to be out here in front. Fortunately, though, the noise gate settings are fairly effective at blocking out breathing depending on which noise gate you're on. In my opinion, the microphone is better than it was on the Gen 3 Mixamp Pro that I used. It has a little bit less compression, a little less roboty sounding. Still there a little bit, but not as bad. And I'll talk about this a little bit more when I go over the software for this headset, but there are 4 noise gate settings. There's streaming, night, home, and tournament, and each one has a different level of aggressiveness with noise gate. Okay, now for a microphone test, I'm going to go ahead and go over all 4 of the noise gate presets so everyone can get an idea of how each of these handles compression and maybe a little bit of the background noise such as breathing. So this is the streaming noise gate setting. This is the most minimal setting there is. It's supposed to be the least aggressive, have the most natural sounding voice, but it may pick up the most background noise as well. Okay, now this is the night noise gate preset. It's pretty similar, I think, in performance to the streaming, fairly minimal on the noise gates, a little less compression on the voice, but it does pick up more background noise. I've tried using this while playing, and it does pick up a lot more breathing than the home noise gate setting, which I will do next. So this is the home noise gate setting. This is the default setting on the Mixamp, and it has a little more compression than the last two. Still not too terrible. It does a very good job about blocking out breathing and other background noise, other people talking in the home. You do have to talk at a fairly normal conversational level, because if you talk really quietly, it is more likely to chop up your voice and have really choppy transmissions. So you should try to talk at a normal volume. This is the tournament noise gate setting. It is the most aggressive noise gate out of the four. It's made to be used in a tournament environment where there's a lot of people talking or yelling, just loud noises in general. Right now I'm talking fairly loud just to keep the transmission going. If you talk at a more normal volume, it'll chop up your transmission a lot more. So this really isn't a good one to use at home, but it is nice if you do play in a louder environment on a regular basis. So let's talk about software support. This headset system uses Astro's Command Center software, which is fairly easy to use, if not the prettiest software on the market. On the main screen, you have your 4 presets that are synced to the Mixamp, and all you have to do to adjust your EQ is on the right side, adjust the sliders as you see fit, and then you can either sync it to the Mixamp or you can just save it as another profile, and that will go into the preset library that's on the left. You also have the option of going into the advanced settings menu on the right, just below the EQ bars, and in there you can enter direct values to what you want each of the frequencies to be at, and you can also adjust frequency bandwidth and things of that nature for just a little bit more fine tuning of your EQ. Unfortunately, that screen didn't want to record right for this video, but it's there, and it's an option to delve a little further into your EQ setup. And then on the next tab over, we have our microphone settings, where we can choose between our noise gates as well as our overall microphone volume and side tone volume. As far as the noise gates are concerned, I would prefer a slider for a noise gate like on Discord, where you can just block any noise out under a certain threshold, but any choice is better than none. And then on the last tab, we have our stream port settings, where we can adjust the mix between our auxiliary port, microphone, game volume, all of those things to use in our streams or other things that you may be mixing your audio for. So overall, what do I think of this system? Well, I think it is strong in the performance department. It has very good sound quality. It has several surround sound options that you can choose from, and it's robust and easy to change your EQ settings. You can download new EQ settings, so it has a lot going for it in that department to really tailor the sound to how you want it. It has a very good microphone for gaming. It blocks out ambient noise, background noise, breathing, all that stuff very well. It has adjustable noise gates that you can change depending on the environment you're in. With the exception of the inline mute cable, the controls on the Mixamp are all very easy to use. I prefer this system over, say, what Turtle Beach has gone to with their Super Amp and having to use the app. It's not as robust or innovative as SteelSeries' Game Deck's OLED screen with all the menus, but this is the next best thing, and I do really like this system. The power and optical cable aren't quite as long as I would like them to have been, and I also would have preferred a nicer material for the cabling. And the comfort of the A40 headset itself is pretty middle of the road. It does not meet my expectations for a premium $250 headset system. So should you buy this headset system? Maybe. Obviously it has its flaws. I'm warrantying out both the Mixamp and the headset itself. Now the issue with the Mixamp of switching back and forth between PC and Xbox and not recognizing the microphone, if that's not resolved on the replacement that Astro sends me, I'm sure that can be resolved through firmware later. The finish on the headset itself flaking off is kind of a big deal for a product in this price range. There's really no reason to have a system that flakes off like this. Now maybe I just got unlucky, but you know what, I bought this from the store, out of the box. It wasn't sent to me by Astro, and so this could happen to other people. I'm glad that they're going to warranty it out, but I do wonder about the replacement that I'll be getting if I'll just have the same issue. So I don't really want a $250 headset where all the finish flakes off. So that may be a deal breaker for a lot of people. So if you don't have a nice headset system right now and you're wanting to go all in on a premium system, this is a very good option performance-wise for Xbox. Fortunately, if you're worried about the build quality or durability of the A40 headset, there is another option. There is nothing really special performance specification-wise of the A40 headset as far as its audio specs. It's pretty standard as far as the industry is concerned. All it really has is its special features like the ear tags and swapping out microphones and cushions and such. So what you could do is buy a separate headset of whatever brand you want and combine it with a standalone purchased Mixamp. Combine the two and you'll get pretty much all of the performance benefits of the system with whatever other headset that you want. I do plan on doing another video testing out the Mixamp with some different headsets. I have my Sennheiser Game 1 on hand, SteelSeries Arctis Pro, a SteelSeries Arctis 3. Someone in the comments for the unboxing of this system asked that I test this with the Lucid Sound LS35X in wired mode. So I'll test it with a range of different headsets that I have, just really to test its audio and microphone performance and how those work with the Mixamp. Alright everyone, now it's giveaway time. As I said, this system comes with a 2-year activation code for Dolby Atmos, and I'll be giving it away to one of you. So how this giveaway is going to work, I ask that you like this video and be a subscriber, and comment on this video. It doesn't have to be specific to the A40, but if you want to ask a question or talk about this headset, that's fine. But really, if you want to talk about anything gaming, talk about games that you like, ask me questions about games I like, whatever, just leave some sort of comment. So for those that do those things, I will select a winner and send you your activation code. And with that, that wraps up this review. Thank you everyone so much for watching. If you found this review helpful or you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, please consider doing so. I'd love to hear what you think about this headset or this review or any other questions you may have in the comments. As always, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.